PSEactions.com. Today I'm going to do something a little different. We are going to actually work on a PSE version of the Everything Pack. And this pack has everything that you could possibly want or need to do a lot of creative stuff, get lots of different looks and that kind of stuff. Alright, so we're going to jump right in. I'm just going to use one leaf. A lot of you guys seen this picture and asked for a demonstration. So I'm just going to drop one single leaf here, and I am going to shrink this down and turn it just a little bit and then set it somewhere around here. Now this leaf came from the Jessica Drazen leaf overlays, and you can get that from Jessica Drazen Textures, and they're really nice. Because this is in the same plane, I'm not actually going to add any kind of blur or anything like that to it. If this was falling around her or something, we may add a filter to it, but we don't need to do that. Okay, so I'll start by telling you I'm not a PSE expert. There's probably ways that you can group all these things together. I don't know how to do that in Photoshop Elements, so I'm actually going to be flattening these layers, and you probably do not want to do that if you know a way around it. Okay, so we're going to start with the swirling bokeh. And I'm just going to run this, and then once it is completely done, then we will just erase this off of our subject. There's going to be a lot of things going on here, and we'll kind of make some choices based on the direction that we want to go. Alright, so you can see, I'm going to go back through the history real quick and just open it back up so you can kind of get an idea of where we started and what that did. And the cool thing about this is you have a lot of options up here. You can add brightness if you want to, and these can be adjusted. So if you wanted to bring up the brightness a little bit more, you can do that. I'm actually going to cut the creamy off for this one, for this particular one, and I'm just going to come down here and go ahead and erase this with a black brush just to get this off. Same thing in Photoshop Elements. If you hit the / key, then you get the masking guide, just like in Photoshop. Okay, so let's get this off of her. And you can see how it's kind of brightening her up. This is intended to do that. When we made this, we wanted to make it to where your subject really stood out in any of the applications that you may use this in. Okay, so it's close enough. And then I'm just going to draw a focal line, down here at the bottom. And this is going to create what our lens would have. And now you can play with the amount that you use. If you want to make it even softer and more dreamy, I like to keep mine somewhere around 30 to 40%. If it's a close-up, then you can actually get by with more. But this is not, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten this now. And I am going to go with the matte with Color Pop. And you'll see that it's creating a lot of different stuff. And basically we're just going to start with the matte here. And I'm going to just get this right off of her immediately, because I know that we do not want to keep that. Now, certain photos, this can look good applied right over. I normally don't do that unless it is shot in different types of light, or in black and white. It can look good. But just for like natural light, then you probably will not want to use it over the subject. And I'm actually going to cut on the blue tint just to cool it off a little bit around her, and probably pull it up just a little bit more. And then I am going to whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. Pull the blacks down just a little bit, and we're going to kill the hazy look. Okay, and I probably will actually pull a little bit of that down. Okay. So you kind of get the idea of what we did right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and flatten it again. Like I said, I'm sure most of you guys know how to work around this. I've never used Photoshop Elements except to test these actions to see how they work. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and drag and drop a light right here in the middle. And you can use as much of this as you want. You can actually make this bigger if you want. And that's completely up to you. Don't really need to twist it there, but it'll be okay. So I'm just going to pull this back up to the top. And we're going to set this to screen mode. Just like this. And it's going to create this golden light. And you can actually change that if you want to a different color. And I'm just going to bring the amount down because we're going to kind of add some darkness around her. And you don't have to do that, but for this particular image, that's the direction we're going. Okay. So again, I had to flatten, and then I'm going to do the light tricks right on top, and it's going to create like a really cool 3D effect that's going to make the background and foreground seem separated a little bit more. And this is a step that you don't have to do. We're going to actually cut off the light tricks just because I don't want it to be too dark. And then I'm just going to reduce the soft light just a little and maybe reduce pop the edges because we are actually going to use pop the subject on top. Okay. So, and then we can just make a choice if we went too much, if we need more. You can kind of see what it's doing. It's kind of creating this fantasy light here in the center of the photo, which is the area which she is standing in. Okay, so I am going to flatten this because I want to keep all these things going on. And we are going to go with a little bit of warmness from the Fall Glory action. And I can kind of paint this in wherever I want. And there's a couple of different options in here that's going on. But we are going to start with the fall colors. And I'm actually going to set my opacity probably to about 50% just because I don't want to go too far. And we're just going to kind of play on the light that we have falling. Now when you're masking, you should be masking a lot cleaner, but in the tutorial I am not going to do that today. Okay. So once you've done that, you can kind of play with the amount. And I'm just going to bring that back down just a little bit. And I'm actually not even going to worry about the other two because I like the way that this is starting to look. And I'm going to show you one more thing, and you can actually do this in Photoshop or in Elements. And we're just going to create the skin tone pack. It's going to create all these skin tones, and just to show you a trick that you can actually do. And it's really not that incredible, but it's pretty cool. So you have all these different skin tones, and we can use this to paint in the beautiful tones of any of these skins that we want. But we're going to use a little bit different. I'm going to add red glow, and I'm just going to invert it. So I'm going to hit Command I, and you'll see it's going to turn everything red, and that's fine. We're just going to cut this down now. And it creates a warmness. Now you can do this in Photoshop or in Elements, like I said, just invert and then cut it down because you don't want to use too much. And you can actually use any of these colors that you want, and you can stack them on top of each other if you want. Or you could selectively use them where you want. So if you wanted to paint a little bit of these colors in here, you can do that. and so on and so forth. So I'm going to cut this off, and this is the finished product. So I'm going to go back to the beginning here and show you the before and after. Alright guys, thanks for watching. This is Kevin from KCC Photography and kccactions.com.